Ontario will no longer break up Peel Region into separate municipalities, the province's housing minister has announced.
The evidence we have seen is clear. Full dissolution would disrupt critical services and lead to higher taxes for the people of Mississauga, Brampton, and Caledon. And while some people might be okay with that, our government clearly is not.
The reversal comes after the Ford government passed legislation in May to dissolve the region.
I've always been for an independent Mississauga.
On May 15th, Premier Doug Ford showed his support for Mississauga becoming a standalone city, something Mississauga Mayor Bonnie Crombie had been pushing for.
This makes great sense that we go our separate ways. It's more cost-effective.
Crombie pointed to a promise Ford made to former Mississauga Mayor Hazel McCallion before she died in January.
I promised Hazel many years ago that I believe, and she believed, that a city almost 800,000 people should be independent. I agree.
But not all Peel Region mayors were on board. Brampton Mayor Patrick Brown expressed concerns about costs relating to shared infrastructure like water treatment facilities and police headquarters.
If the mayor of Mississauga thinks she can leave and not pay her bill, the residents of Brampton would be outraged.
The region shares services like police, paramedics, health programs, and recycling. The official announcement came a few days later on May 18th.
I'm pleased to be here this afternoon to talk to you about the decisive action we are taking to address the needs of Mississauga, Brampton, and Caledon residents. As you all know, today I introduced the Hazel McCallion Act in the legislature. This legislation, if passed, would begin the process of dissolving the region of Peel, effective January 1st, 2025.
Then Housing Minister Steve Clark said the government would appoint a transition board, which would provide advice on everything from finances to dividing up assets. From the get-go, questions about cost, including a potential rise in property taxes, swirled. Brown wanted Mississauga to pay Brampton back for infrastructure costs. Crombie said she didn't want Mississauga to spend its tax dollars building out Brampton.
I know that we're the child in this marriage, but the children gets to speak in a divorce because at the end of the day, the children, they are affected. So we're the child and we're the children, so we want to speak.
The mayor of Caledon admitted the move wasn't something her town wanted, but said she had confidence in the transition board. Brown continued to doubt the dissolution plans in June, saying housing projects in Brampton were being delayed because of concerns over who will cover the costs after the split. Then earlier this month, we heard from public sector workers and the union that represents paramedics in Peel Region about how the move might lead them to losing their jobs.
As far as I'm concerned, none of my members have jobs January 1st, 2025. We don't know if we have collective agreement rights. We don't know if we have seniority rights. We don't know if we have vacation. Ultimately, we don't know if we have the same job then as we do now.
Then there were reports the Ford government might be rethinking the plan because of the cost.
This government will not allow any municipality to raise their taxes to a point where it is unaffordable.
Still, Crombie stood firm.
Walking back the Hazel McCallion Act would be a tough one for the Premier and our local MPPs to explain to Mississauga residents and future generations.
The dissolution is already law. It passed in June, so it will have to be repealed. Calandra said he's not worried about backing out on the promise to Hazel McCallion.
She understood that you have to keep costs down, that you have to encourage growth in a community.
Crombie officially submitted her resignation as mayor Wednesday after winning the Ontario Liberal leadership race. She later told reporters Calandra's announcement wasn't the one she was hoping for.
Today marks what I'll now call the first phase in Mississauga's independence from the region of Peel. This isn't the end of our path to independence. It's simply a bump in the road.
I want to commend the Premier and the Minister of Municipal Affairs, Paul Calandra, for doing the right thing. It's never the wrong time to do the right thing.
The government will introduce new legislation in 2024 to revisit the mandate of the Transition Board, focusing on improving regional services like policing, paramedics, and public health instead of splitting things up.